Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, a podcast with one host about one console, the Xbox One. I am said host, Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking about the latest Xbox news for the week of October 29th, 2020, including Halo developer 343 loses another key member of the team as fans are pissed about stupid stuff yet again. Cyberpunk got delayed again, Gears 5 is getting new content again, and more again. So literally just a second before I hit record this week, I was thinking about the release date for Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, which comes out on Friday, November 13th, here in the States, which is one day after the PS5 comes out, and 3 days after the Xbox Series X and S come out. So Xbox comes out on Tuesday the 10th, and then on Thursday the 12th, PlayStation comes out, and then on Friday the 13th, Call of Duty comes out. And my initial thought was, why wouldn't Activision... I know Call of Duty normally is like a Friday thing. It's a big, blowout Friday Call of Duty release, played over the weekend thing. But why wouldn't, for this year with the new consoles, why wouldn't they want to put Call of Duty out the same day as the Xbox Series X? Because obviously you can kind of capitalize on that. Oh, you're picking up your new console today. People are always... Everyone buys an extra game or two at the start of a generation that they wouldn't normally buy because they're just so excited to be getting a new next-gen piece of hardware. You know what I mean? Like, there's always that, oh, I bought this because I just picked up the Xbox day one. I was so excited I wanted new games for it, so I bought insert. Like how many people bought, snipper clips or ARMS when the Nintendo Switch came out because they just wanted a cool new game to play on their Nintendo Switch and not because... any other reason. No one would have fucking bought snipper clips or ARMS if it had come out on July 23rd, 2019. No one would have fucking bought those games. But the fact that it was their day one launch Nintendo Switch games, everyone bought them. So I always think about stuff like that. It's Call of Duty is going to sell Call of Duty is going to sell like crack because it's Call of Duty. It doesn't need a new console launch to help bolster its sales. But you still think maybe there's that group of people who are lapsed Call of Duty players or people who just don't play Call of Duty generally or maybe never played Call of Duty who might be fuck it, I just got this new Xbox, I want to test all the 4K and the 120 hertz and the fast load times and stuff. I'll get a couple of new games. Fuck it, let's just give Call of Duty a try this year. You think you'd get that on day one, but I guess one, Activision says our brand is more valuable than the launch day of the Xbox. And two, I think the real reason why they're doing it actually is because of Activision's kind of recent commitment and marketing partnership with Sony that we've seen throughout the past, generation or so between Destiny and Call of Duty having really strong marketing ties with PlayStation as a brand. So I almost wonder if it's Call of Duty isn't coming out on Tuesday when Xbox comes out because it's, it would kind of go against its partnership with Sony to, have PlayStation be the premier platform for Call of Duty. But then again, I guess if that were really the case, they could have just launched on Thursday. I don't know. This is literally just what I was thinking of right before I hit record, so I just figured I would talk about it here. But if you haven't picked up yet, this is Xbox On. It's the podcast where we talk about Xbox shit. Guys, welcome back for another week. Hey, at least this time I opened up talking about something that is actually relevant to what this show is all about, which is video games and Xbox in particular. Before we get into our opening segment of the comments and the bullshitting we normally do, I'd like to go over some corrections or just some things I'd like to touch on from the week or last week's show. Our first one here, Twitter user at STX21, who often, shouts out the show on Twitter, and thank you so much for your support of the show. I really, really appreciate it, man. Came out and posted a clip of the show this past week and says, man, Jesse preaching right here, and he was talking about my rant on Halo 5 Guardians from last week. And, I appreciate the shout out, but I was listening to the little excerpt, the clip you posted here on Twitter, and I noticed that, listening to myself back, and I notice this when I'm editing the podcast every week, but, I'm not a huge fan of how much I use the F word on this podcast. I mean, I use the F word a fair amount in everyday talk, but I try to minimize that. I try not to be a total F bomb dropper all the time. I feel like it's kind of a lazy way to talk. I don't have a problem with the F word. I think I can, well, maybe only can I speak to, where I'm from, but it seems like in this country, at least, there's too much of like a taboo on curse words. Like we freak out over curse words. I think curse words are not as big a deal as maybe we socially make them out to be. Like, to me, I'm one of those people where it's like things that offend me, at least vocally, are like intentions, like things you mean, not things you say. So, it's like if you're a person who just says fuck every other word, it's like fuck means nothing, right? You water it down to where it loses its luster. So I mean, like real offensive stuff is when you use fuck in a context to intentionally harm someone or insult them or something. That's. But if I'm just being like, oh, Halo fucking 5, I love that fucking game on the Xbox fucking One, that's like, okay, well, you're just an idiot and you don't know how to speak, and you're just relying on these crutch words, as I call them, to kind of help get you to convey your points. So maybe just in an effort to want to be a better speaker and feel like I have a better control over my vernacular, I should lay off the F word so much, but I don't inherently think there's all that much a problem with swearing, because I think we just kind of overreact about what these words mean. They're just words, you fucking idiots. But with that said, I don't know. I do want to decrease the amount of usage that word gets, the amount of mileage that word gets on this show. So I guess I'm only bringing this up to say Xbox On is officially pledging to reduce the usage of the F word by 50% by the year 2023, and we're aiming on this show to be entirely F-bomb neutral by 2030. So if you are someone who's been put off by my heavy usage of F word or just curses in general, I would like to let you know I am cognizant of that. I am self-conscious about that, and I would like to reduce that. So noted. I know that wasn't why you posted the clip, STX21 on Twitter. Everybody follow that sexy young man who just really nice guy on social media. Very pleasant guy on social media who talks about Xbox and doesn't just say negative, awful crap, not shit, crap all the time like most people do on Twitter. What a pleasant guy. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out. It just kind of brought to my attention. I'm like, I don't like this portrayal of me. All these people who've never heard of my podcast are going to see this guy's clip, and I know you're trying to highlight my silly rant about Halo 5, but to me, I'm listening to it, I'm just like, oh my god, what would my mother think? And then I realized my mom actually listens to the show, and she's never brought up my cursing, but maybe it doesn't matter what my mom thinks of my usage of curse words on the show, but more so my perception of what my mother should think of my usage of curse words. So I know that's out there. And then the second thing is still in regards to this tweet. I would like to just, now that I'm a little cooled down, now that I'm not just foaming at the mouth, like yelling at people about not appreciating Halo 5 as much as I think that game deserves appreciation, allow me to explain a little bit what I mean, or just maybe set some kind of preface here for what I mean about the Halo, my defense of Halo 5 and how I think it's ridiculous how that game doesn't get enough respect. It's totally cool. I'm not ranting about Halo 5 every other episode, because if you didn't like Halo 5, I think you're an idiot. That's not what I mean. Like, if you were out there and you're listening and you're a longtime Halo fan and you just thought Halo 5 was just not the best Halo game, I can respect that. That's totally cool. I'm not here telling you have to believe what I believe. I just don't want to come off as that dick. So let me just expound a little bit. Like, it's cool to not like Halo 5 if Halo 5 just wasn't your game. That happens. Hey man, I get it. I'm more so harping on like this like mob mentality, this dogma that, everyone has to hate on Halo 5 because it's popular opinion, as the internet is so famous for condoning that kind of behavior. The game is, in my opinion, just severely underrated and underappreciated, and I feel like there are so many people who either A, didn't play the game and harp on it, or B, didn't give it a fair shake because the narrative surrounding the game was that it was bad, or it was a letdown, or at the very least, the campaign was bad, And so I just feel like the game gets, like, that kind of conversation drowns out the actual statement the game has to make, and not enough people let the game do its talking. And that's kind of where that argument comes from in my just constant obsession with defending Halo 5 comes from. Again, if you are someone who's like, yeah, I played through Halo 5, it's not the worst Halo game, it's just not for me, or I just straight up thought Halo 5 wasn't a great game, I vastly prefer this Halo or that Halo, that's totally fine, man. I like, you're free to think what you want. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions. Of course, I think you're a total jackass, but all joking aside, there's nothing wrong with disliking Halo 5. I just wish the sentiment was that, people played the game for themselves, tried as much as possible to make their own assessment and judgment on what they thought of the game without just having to rely on what people kind of tell them to think or what the popular conversation is. And I guess that's kind of indicative of just my bigger problem with humanity in general, is I just feel like so much of what we do is just constantly like, oh, okay, let me cherry pick my beliefs based on what the internet tells me. And I don't know, maybe that's not trying to get into non-video game related things here, but I think this is just a perfect example of that kind of an obnoxious culture and mentality, like encroaching on my love of Halo and or video games, and more specifically Halo. And so that's I just want to throw that in here. It's cool if you don't like Halo. It's cool if Halo 5 isn't your thing. That's, you're entitled to your own opinions and takes. I'm just saying Halo 5 is a great game from my perspective, and I just wish more people would give it the time of day and maybe try to assess it on its own merits and from their own perspectives, rather than, the kind of preset perspective that the internet has for it, which is that it's garbage, which is just simply, in my opinion, not the case. Also, while we're on the topic of Halo 5, happy 5th anniversary to the game that has it all, Halo 5. You celebrated your 5th anniversary on October 27th. I cannot believe you're 5 years old. That makes me actually just feel like I need to go, like, quit my job, run out into the streets and say I'm alive as I frantically rip my shirt off and kiss the nearest person next to me just so I can feel something, expressive and explosive and emotion filled, because I feel like death is so imminent when someone says, hey, Jesse, did you know that 2015 was 5 years ago? Or puts into this perspective, Jesse, did you know that 2015 was half a decade ago? Jesse, did you know that you were in college? You were like just starting college 5-6 years ago, and now you're like well out of college into a entry-level career, and you've moved 7 hours away from where you lived and grew up and went to school? Or Jesse, did you know that Destiny 1 is more than half a decade old, and that in just a few years it's going to be a decade? Did you know that in less than like 4 years Destiny, the franchise, will be a decade old? Did you know that Bungie has almost spent more time working on Destiny than the Halo franchise? These are the kinds of thoughts that make me just frantically grasp for the nearest firearm and motion towards my head, because I cannot cope with that concept. So yeah, I mean, Halo 5 is 5 years old, and I feel really old, even though I'm technically not very old, but it scares me, guys. Life is short. You should play Halo 5 while you can. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Now, before we get into the comments, just a few more quick little things. There's a huge conversation going on this week. I originally put it in the show notes as a story, but decided last minute to kind of leave it out because, well, frankly, I just don't give a shit, and I don't see this as real news. But yes, you may have seen 343 put out this blog post this week. They kind of went in depth a little bit with Halo Infinite's kind of customization for multiplayer and the color shading and picking your Spartan's color palette and everything. And I'll be honest, I didn't read too much in detail about this because, quite honestly, I don't give a shit. But essentially what's happening here is in Halo Infinite, there'll be more options to kind of pick the colors on your Spartan. It will be more than just this typical two tone shades, whatever, that you can clash or mix and match, as is the case with most Halo multiplayer suites. But now there'll be like more things you can color and shade. But the whole caveat here is that a lot of this stuff will be like, things you buy, skins, things you unlock, and all that shit. So the internet got all lit on fire about freaking out about how color shaders have always been free in Halo, and now they're trying to profit off of it, and now they're going to make it just like Destiny. We're going to have to buy shaders and maybe only unlock a certain number of this specific shader and kind of artificially inflate how many times you can use one, and just kind of blowing up and freaking out about all these things. And I wanted to have a conversation about this, but when it came time to really start writing out notes for this story, I realized I just don't care. And I think people sound like a bunch of big babies. Listen, at the end of the day, turn me off if you think this sounds too extremist, but I didn't mind rec packs in Halo 5. I think people overreacted like crazy about them. I think rec packs were totally fine. In fact, they were somewhat fun. You can make an argument about how they may have obstructed the purpose and the fun of a mode like Firefight or a Warzone, rather. But even then, I think that's not really the case in my opinion. But like, I don't know. I felt like rec packs were a pretty tasteful way to get microtransactions into Halo. In a world where microtransactions must show up in every game because this is how we monetize games. So just accept it or don't pay for them so that they don't keep showing up. But again, I hear this, and obviously Halo Infinite's not out. We haven't played it yet, but I just immediately think this doesn't sound like a really bad way to implement some microtransactions in the game. So I'm not upset about it, and frankly, I'm so tired of this thing where like games are so far from coming out and we're just getting all like so dug deep into all the nitty-gritty little details about a game that we haven't even played yet. So it's just like, dude, shut up. I'm excited for Halo Infinite because I just want to play more Halo. I want to find out what happens next in the story. I want to play some awesome next generation Halo multiplayer. Like, I'm just excited to play Halo. I'm not really going to get all up in arms about the shaders or how they monetize the game until I've experienced the game for myself and decide whether or not I like it. I don't know. I can't bring myself to care enough to have a genuine conversation about this, but I do want to point out, yes, I guess it's happening, and I guess a lot of people seem to be pissed about it, but oh well, that's your problem to deal with, not mine. Next, speaking of Halo, this is the last one here. It looks like Guillermo del Toro, whatever, the movie director, the weird guy that tries to give water a shape, tries to objectify water. That guy, the director who makes all the bloody movies, he was quoted in an interview about like his concept for a Halo movie or something like that. And again, I was going to do a story on that, but I realized as I was trying to write notes for it, I just don't care, man. Halo's had so many opportunities and instances where it was almost a TV show, almost a movie. We know they're actively working on a TV show that will come out next year or whatever. I don't care. I think that's kind of like fallen off a cliff, since COVID. We like earlier in the show last year when Xbox On had just started, I feel like we were always talking about a Halo show and for coming to Star Time, and now we just never talk about it. So I don't know where that show is. I think it was supposed to come out around now, but I guess it's probably delayed till sometime next year. I don't care. I love Halo because it's a great video game series. I enjoy some of the books from time to time and the comics and stuff, but for the most part, I just want Halo to be a fucking video game series. I'm so tired of, which as we'll get into later in the show, everything just trying to become a movie, a TV show, because video games aren't accepted as like an entertainment form or a piece of art until like TV and movie audiences have experienced or accepted them. So I resent that kind of sentiment that all these game publishers and IP holders kind of walk around with by constantly trying to make movies and TV shows out of all these games. I understand ultimately it's just a cash grab for them, but like, fuck, I don't care, man. I don't give a shit what Guillermo del Toro does or however you say I'm sorry, I can't say his name right. I fucked up and I apologize. And now I'm dropping too many F-bombs. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm letting you down. We haven't even gotten to the comments yet. But with that said, let's start out this week with some comments, shout-outs from YouTube. You know where to get them, guys. You go on over to youtube.com, look up, search up Second Best Gaming. That is my YouTube channel. Don't ask why it's called that. And you will find a playlist for Xbox On. That is where I pull all the comments from. So if you'd like to participate in the show by commenting, downvoting my video, whatever it is you'd like to do, that is the place to find me, guys. And our first comment of the week comes from Dear Mr. Dead Captain James. He says, "You're going to hate me again, but Wendy's chili and a double cheeseburger are my favorite fast food combo, ellipses." I responded with a fuming emoji, to which Dead Captain James says, "I take the burger and I dip it into the chili and then eat it. It's divine." Dead Captain James, you have endless love and support for me. But so here's the thing. I don't like hate Wendy's like Wendy's should go away. Like, I eat Wendy's more than I'd like to admit. I probably have it, a good handful of times a year. And there are times where Wendy's hits the spot, and there are menu items at Wendy's that come and go that I'm like, that's pretty solid. In fact, just recently they've introduced like this beer cheese and like pretzel roll bun, like chicken sandwich you can get. There's a burger variant of it, but it's like a pub burger where it's like, pretzel roll bun and beer cheese and bacon and all this shit on it. And I got the fried chicken version of that. And it was heavenly, I won't lie. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought it was a very, very good sandwich. So Wendy's has its moments, but for the most part, it's just like, why would you go to Wendy's when you could go to McDonald's? Why would you go to Wendy's when you could go to Taco Bell? Why would you go to Wendy's when you could go to literally any of these other fast food places I prefer? So that's my beef with Wendy's, no pun intended. But I can accept it if you said, a Wendy's double cheeseburger. That's one of my favorites. That's fine. But then you had to go rub salt in the wound by saying you dip it in chili. And here's the thing, I guess you didn't know because I never brought it up on the podcast, so how else would you know? But I hate chili. I fucking hate chili. I hate all variants of chili. I hate chili. My mom used to make chili a lot when I was a kid. I hated it then. My girlfriend tries to make chili a lot now. I hate it now. And every time I've ever gone anywhere, and so like I used to work in a restaurant that offered chili as like a soup, like it's like a starter. One of the restaurants I once worked in, actually two of the restaurants, I've worked in like 5 or 6 restaurants in my life, and 2 of the restaurants I worked at actually offered chili as like a starter. That's not even true. Technically 3, but it was like a chili enchilada soup thing. I don't know. So a handful of restaurants I've worked at have had some variant or form of a chili soup salad starter kind of thing. And I got to be honest, as a server, from the perspective of a server, every time a table would ever be like, oh yeah, I'll start out with a cup of chili, I would just get so sad. It wasn't like the customer was going to order this chili and then make me eat it, obviously. Of course that wasn't what was going to happen, but it made me like just profoundly depressed when I think of someone like going out to a restaurant, which is inherently an exciting thing, and being like, yeah, I think I'll order chili. I think I'll order this thing that cowboys used to fucking eat because they were dying and starving in the fucking like middle of the desert, in the fucking in like the year 1876 or whatever the fuck it was. Like that's what gets me is why ordered chili. You think so? For example, I worked at California Pizza Kitchen. That's a restaurant maybe many of you might be familiar with. It's a nationally recognized chain. I believe they're at least international or globally known for maybe at least their fast food line or their frozen food line. They sell at grocery stores. I don't know, but I assume many of you know what California Pizza Kitchen is, and I worked there once for a couple years, and it was a great job, and that's not the point, but what I am trying to say is you think about like the experience as a customer, as the restaurant goer, and you think about like, oh, it's Friday night, we've all had this miserable fucking week of work and school, and we all kind of want to low-key hang ourselves, but now we're all gonna just like let the stresses melt away. We're gonna go out, we're gonna have dinner, we're gonna go to this place where the food's really good, we don't want to cook, and everything has that restaurant taste where it's like, this is good, nothing I make at home tastes this way. It's just the experience, the ambiance, the restaurant, the whole thing. Eating out is one of my favorite things in the world. Obviously, we talk about it extensively on this podcast, but like just going out to a restaurant, even after having my life destroyed by working in restaurants, the worst job I could ever think of, I still am such an avid lover of dining out and going to restaurants now, even after years of having been in that industry. And I just gotta say, like, nothing brings me down more than thinking, like, someone's sitting down at a California Pizza Kitchen, little old me rolls on up with my fat ass, just like, yeah, what do you want to eat, you fucking idiot? I'm just trying to grind the hours out till I can go home and play Titanfall. And the customer's, like, looking at this menu that features things like fucking, like these egg rolls with chicken, avocado, bacon dipped in spicy ranch, which is so good, and like these fucking like meat lovers pizzas, and like this dessert that's like it's like tiramisu dipped in rum and with all this like creamy shit and chocolate shavings. I'm like, yeah, like this menu's awesome. There's some really good food here. Like it's Friday night, you're gonna go nuts. What are you gonna do to celebrate the weekend? Like what are we getting here? And then someone says, I'll have a cup of chili, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like you immediately the first thing that comes to my mind is like, oh, okay, you're sick. You don't feel well. You're probably going to go home and lay in bed, like you're bedridden because someone pulled you out to this restaurant even though you weren't feeling well. And so now you're here and you're just like, I'll just have chili because I have a fever and I'm coughing. And when I close my eyes, I drift off and I see my dead grandpa coming and talking to me in my sleep. Like you're hallucinating. Things are bad. I get it. That's why you're ordering the chili. Is that correct? Because like no one's looking at the menu and being like, yeah, I'm gonna pass up on those fucking those pot stickers, those dumplings, and I'm just gonna go ahead and get a nice bowl of chili because I like eating beans and just vaguely meat shredded up with all this taco seasoning and be like, yeah, this is campfire food. I want to eat this because I'm starving and I don't know when I'll see food again. Maybe not till next winter. It's like I just don't understand the appeal. So that's a long-winded way of saying, Dead Captain James, I could have justified you being a Wendy's fan. I could have justified, something as alluring as a double cheeseburger, but the chili is where I draw the line, my dude. And I just had to tell you about that because chili's no good, man. Now my mother says that Wendy's burgers reign supreme, that they're the best fast food burgers. And, they say about mothers, they are full of shit. Now, Badass Lord Tipsy says, regular french fries with ketchup or curly fries with buttermilk ranch. Now, Badass Lord Tipsy, you didn't know this because, again, I haven't ever brought it up on the podcast, but there is nothing I hate in this world. I hate to be so negative. Guys, I love a lot of things, I promise you. I love life. I'm glad to be alive. I'm grateful to be a part of this world. I'm grateful to get to do this podcast and to communicate with you guys. I don't mean to be so negative, but goddamn, there's literally nothing more I hate in terms of things you can consume than ketchup. Ketchup is my number one thing. Listen, there are things I hate that I'll deal with. Like, I don't like cilantro, but if you put cilantro on something, I'll deal with it, okay? I'm not crazy about, like, most forms of barbecue sauce, but, like, I can do barbecue sauce on and off. I'm not crazy about, like, I don't know, like, I hate mushrooms, but I've been coerced into consuming mushrooms from time to time. Like, I can do it. It can be done. I hate salmon. I like seafood a lot. I hate salmon. I'll eat salmon if I have to. Gun to my head, I'll eat the salmon. Now, gun to my head, ketchup, fucking kill me. Pull the trigger. I cannot stand ketchup. Do I hate tomatoes? No, not at all. Tomatoes are delicious. I love tomatoes. They're so phenomenal. I just don't understand how something so great as the tomato can be so warped and twisted as to be made into ketchup. Ketchup is just so atrocious. And like, I'm a big ranch fan. So when you ask curly fries, regular fries, buttermilk ranch, ketchup, buttermilk ranch, no fucking questions asked. I love french fries dipped in ranch. I love french fries plain. I love french fries dipped in honey mustard barbecue or just honey mustard. I love french fries dipped in literally anything. Dude, I would rather eat french fries dipped in mayonnaise than french fries dipped in ketchup. Like, fuck ketchup. Just, like, end of discussion. I don't know how to make this any more clear. Like, there's nothing I hate more than ketchup as far as food goes. Like, I'm such a fat ass. I will eat anything. You can tell me, like, hey, I just took a bite of this burger and I have COVID-19 and I'm dying, but I'm too full to eat anymore. Would you like to eat the rest of this cheeseburger? And my fat ass will be like, you probably shouldn't eat that burger. You can't get COVID. This really is not a good. And then I'll eat the burger because I'm a fat ass. But if you go up to me and you're like, hey man, I just ate a bite of this burger. I'm in perfect health, but it has ketchup on it. Do you want it? I'll be like, fuck no, I'm not eating that ketchup. So that's just to put into context. That's how much I hate ketchup. I just simply will not eat it. So think twice next time before you go ahead and ask me about picking something I love versus something I not only hate, but actively just dread the thought of. Like, I have a rule. Like, my girlfriend, like, I try not to be a controlling, quote unquote, toxic male. I try to be a good boyfriend. I try to let my girlfriend live her life, do her things. I try not to let my way of living impede on her way. I think that's just inherently wrong. I think it's unethical. I think it's just inhumane. My girlfriend is free to eat what she wants, do what she wants. Our living environment is our equal living environment. She is welcome to whatever she likes. She should be able to practice her comfort, her level of living, whatever it is that makes her happy within our apartment. It is both of our homes, not just my home. But with that said, I have one steadfast rule, and that is that at no point is anyone ever allowed to bring ketchup into this home. It is just forbidden. If I see ketchup in the refrigerator or in the pantry, in the trash, and then I'm taking the trash out immediately. Like, it is not allowed. I don't care if you went through the drive-thru and they gave you some packs of ketchup in the bag and they're just sitting there like, no ketchup. It's just the one rule. I would rather I'd rather come home from a long day of work and walk in on my girlfriend cheating on me with another man than walk in seeing my girlfriend pouring ketchup over french fries or something like that. It's just not acceptable. So I hope that answers your question, Badass Lord Tipsy. Now, Fedimus comments for the first time and just says Pog. So thank you for that. And then my mother says, like you, I think I'd go for the burger out of habit, but in all honesty, a really good burrito, and that's not easy to find, but a really good burrito would probably beat a burger. To that point, Lethal Migraine says, burrito versus burger, biggest no-brainer ever. I have a burrito every single day after work. That doesn't sound healthy. Burritos are for experienced, demanding palates. Burgers are for amateur eaters. I think there's some truth to that, Lethal Migraine. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Again, I think both of those comments are kind of in line with what I was saying, which is that if the burrito is better, take the burrito every time over the burger. But I think it's easier to probably just find a decent, reliable burger more often than not. But man, Lethal Migraine, I didn't know you were eating a burger every single day. Maybe that is why you were just such a passionate Xbox gamer, is because of your burger consumption level. But speaking of Lethal Migraine, he comes in as we wrap up our food talk of the week and says, McDonald's and Five Guys are inedible trash, Jesse. Spicy chicken at Wendy's is fantastic, and KFC chicken strips are an adequate replacement for Raising Cane's because I am not driving 90 minutes round trip just for chicken strips. Lethal Migraine, you were officially banned for the rest of the episode, so that is that. You can insult McDonald's. I understand that there's a divisiveness about McDonald's because of the questionable nature of their ethics and the meat they use, but Five Guys is simply where I draw the line. Five Guys is just the best, and you're just wrong. I don't know what to say, man. I don't know how anyone consumes a Five Guys burger and says, yeah, this is trash. I'd rather have a Wendy's burger. I mean, that's just like saying, like, oh, Xbox is shitty. I don't like how the game loads fast and how every time I aim and shoot, the guy on the screen is so responsive to what I'm doing on the controller. I'd rather just play Google Stadia because I like paying for a subscription and then buying the games and having the latency be so awful. That's what I like. So I will take that, please. I will take that over Xbox, please and thank you. I'm an idiot. That's what I just read there, okay, Lethal Migraine? So you're banned for the rest of this week's episode. Mavericks Man says, new listener here. First off, Coke is less than Pepsi, is less than Dr. Pepper, which is equal to Mountain Dew. So you are a Mountain Dew Dr. Pepper is God tier, with Pepsi being under that, with Coke being below all of it. So I can get down with what you're saying there, man. We haven't gotten too much into the Dr. Pepper conversation on the show, and I think we'll save it for a different week, but I will agree with you there. Dr. Pepper is damn good, and I'd probably take a Dr. Pepper over a cola most days. So you say that, and then you say, and a couple of episodes late, but my only experience with the grilled cheese burrito at Taco Bell was greasy and messy. I don't agree with that, but whatever. I don't know what your experience was. You say, greatest Taco Bell limited menu item of the past few years was that delicious naked chicken chalupa. Absolute greatness there. Mavs man, thank you so much for bringing that up. I haven't thought about that in a minute, but you were totally right. I don't know if that was like 2 or 3 years ago. Maybe it was longer. Maybe it was like 4 years ago. I don't know. No, it has to have been like 2 years ago. But yes, they did do the naked chicken chalupa, which is when it was a chalupa, but instead of a chalupa shell, it was just like a chicken breast patty that was like shaped like a chalupa shell. And then they just stuffed it with like cheese, lettuce, tomato, and sour cream. And so you were eating the shell was the chicken. Dude, that was amazing. That thing was so good. That thing had no right to be as good as it was. And I don't give a shit, how they made a piece of chicken meat look like a chalupa shell. I don't care. I'm not going to Taco Bell because I care about my diet or I want to eat right or be humane. I don't give a shit. That thing tasted so good. You were so right, man. That is probably still one of the best limited time item, limited edition, limited time only, whatever items that Taco Bell has done in recent years. And man, I really hope they bring that back sometime. You were so right. I totally forgot about that. Mr. Miggy comes in and says, can I come on this podcast show you speak of where you smoke pot with others? I'll bring some cheesesteaks. Absolutely not. Josiah DeRosa, my brother, comes in and says, Crusader Kings 3 being on the top 10. Oh my God. Fuck off. That's no. Next, Count Scotula comes in and says, unpopular opinion, I'm honestly looking forward to seeing how 343 implements their armor coding system. I'm tired of the loud minority of the Halo community knocking stuff before they even know the details. I'm all for new experiences if the gameplay looks solid, gameplay looks great, and the game is free to play. And 343 should be allowed to take some risks. You're right, I totally forgot the multiplayer will be free to play. You say, and to be clear, I understand why people are upset. We just don't know any of the details. The marketing for this game has been miserable leading up to its launch. They're getting more mysterious and vague each week as the toys are dictating their news. Not the monumental marketing a new Halo 10-year deserves. I agree completely, Count Scotula. I should have actually read this at the top when I was talking about not addressing this story really in the news, because this perfectly sums up kind of my sentiments too. I think you put it really well here, which is just like, guys, wait till the game's out, then we can talk about these little minute things, and then also like, yeah, 343. I kind of agree, man. They are starting to drop the ball. I totally understand why the game was delayed, and I respect that and appreciate that they're trying to make it the best they can be, but there is a part of me that's just kind of like, man, you guys really should just, I don't know, maybe try to roll out some more updates kind of about the game as we get close to launch. to kind of satiate the hunger for this game now that's not coming out this holiday. Maybe be like, we'll show the multiplayer world premiere on this day, and then we'll do a detailed stream explaining it, and if just kind of those things. But instead we're just getting doled out this stupid mind-numbing information about like skins that 99% of the world doesn't care about, and then, as you put it, the loud minority is just constantly bitching and moaning about, and it's not really anything relevant at all. But I think you put it best. I'll stop talking about this now because you say everything that needs to be said, I believe. And yeah, it'd be nice to have some more of a concrete, like focused and driven marketing campaign for the game. But I'm also kind of the mindset, like, I don't really give a shit about it until it's out. I like to not overhype myself for things, because what good is seeing a new trailer for the game when I already know I'm like absurdly excited for it and I'm going to play it day one? Like, what good is a new trailer going to do for me other than just make me more excited about something I was already going to play but cannot play until it comes out, whenever that may be? So I'm good. I don't need any Halo Infinite news. Just like, fuck off, make the game the best it can be. When it's ready, I'll play it. I'll be there day one. But I just don't need you constantly like letting things leak because like a new book or a new toy came out and said something that needs to be addressed. But speaking of Count Skyla, you comment and say, totally forgot about Titanfall. I agree. Titanfall 1 was great, and Titanfall 2 was also great, but just didn't stick with me like the original. And then Lethal Migraine, on top of that, says, edit, I forgot to mention Titanfall 1. Dump Gears 5 for Titanfall 1 off my list. Never could get into Titanfall 2. Something about it didn't feel right. So I appreciate you guys writing that in, because yeah, I guess I'm not crazy then, because I feel it seems like a couple people, at least people who played Titanfall 1 to some extent, know this. My brother also commented and kind of agreed. He didn't comment on YouTube. He told me directly. It seems like a lot of people feel this way, where it was like Titanfall 1, there's something just so great about it. And even though Titanfall 2 technically was better and implemented better features and new shit and expanded on the game, for whatever reason, it's like the Titanfall 2 as a game was like objectively a great game and the campaign was awesome. But like the first game kind of gave me my multiplayer fix, and by the time the second came out, I was like, meh, I'm good. I played a couple hours of Titanfall 2 multiplayer, but I just like Titanfall 1, I would just like stay up all night. Like Titanfall 1 came out my final semester of high school, and I just remember like school night, don't give a shit, just staying up to like 1 a.m. playing Titanfall 1, just being like, this game is so goddamn good. That was the memories I have of my final 3 months of high school are just me staying up stupid late playing Titanfall 1. Cannot get enough of it. Like opting to go home early at work, which is something I never do, if we're like having an overstaffed day at the restaurant, and just being like, yeah, I'll go home so I can play Titanfall. I haven't had that experience with a multiplayer game in a long time. And Titanfall 1 and Halo 5 were definitely like, if I'm just looking back, like as far as like my typical like multiplayer domination team deathmatch kind of games go, Halo 5 and Titanfall 1 just gave me the most of that multiplayer fix this generation. Something about the first one, I just could not be beat. And then our last comment of the week is Dead Captain James, wrapping up with the same guy we started with, who says, I agree with you, Jesse, or Jesse, not sure how you spell your name. I won't tell you how to spell my name because I want you to keep guessing. That mystery will never be solved. You say Xbox games will continue to be on PlayStation, just not in the way you think. Xbox is 100% about driving Game Pass, and Game Pass. We know that they are building a browser version of xCloud for iPhone and PC. I can see PS5 guys having to use xCloud on their browser with a Game Pass subscription. This will be the workaround to get Game Pass onto the PS5. This is a really interesting point that I hadn't thought about, and I can't tell if you're like joking, if you're being like a little facetious, or if you genuinely mean this, but like I could see this working, because I mean, you think the way it's going to work is if it's built into a browser, you can use any controller with your device. So regardless if it's iPhone, PC, whatever, you can just connect a controller and play through your browser. So why wouldn't that work on a PS5, considering the PS5 architecture is basically just PC architecture? So, I mean, this technically could work. I wonder if Sony has like a way of blocking it or something, but that's not a bad idea. Technically, they could do that. Even if they are able to do this, or even if this does happen, I still just think it's one of those things where it's like, it's such an obscure workaround for the situation that it's not going to take off on PlayStation 5. Like, even if this is a thing PlayStation 5 gamers can do, it won't ever really evolve past you seeing like a bunch of news stories being like, wow, you can play Xbox on your PlayStation. No need to ever buy an Xbox, I guess. And maybe like a couple big Reddit posts like bragging about how cool it is. But like after that, I feel like, no one's ever going to actually use it. It's not going to take off and become a thing. So I don't know, but that's an interesting point. I'd love to be wrong and see that actually like be a thing where PlayStation gamers are just playing Xbox constantly through this odd, really cumbersome seeming workaround. But who knows? I mean, just using any kind of internet browser on a console is always a piece of shit, but we'll see. And that's going to do it for all of our comments, shoutouts, and all those things of the week. Remember, guys, for next week, don't be shy, reply. And now we'll talk about what I've been playing, but before we can jump into what I've been playing, I've got to tell you about what I've been eating. Guys, I'll try to keep it brief. I'm trying not to let this episode go on too long. I've kind of got a late start this week, but I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you all about my adventures this past Tuesday. The sushi burrito, the Mountain Dew berry monsoon. Let's get right to it, guys. This Tuesday, I had a nice little day off. My girlfriend and I decided we should probably spend some time together. Jesse, it's time to turn off Destiny. It's time to get out of work mode. It's time to spend some time with your loved one and go out and about. So we tried this little sushi place that I've been meaning to try for about the past year, which is like one of those cool kitschy places where it's like our thing isn't like, hey, we have great sushi. It's one of those gimmicky things where it's like, hey, we fry our sushi, So the whole thing about this place, it's really cool. You go there, there's like anime on the walls and pictures of Goku and vote for Biden stickers that they hand out at the cash register. You think I'm joking, but I'm not. So it's like one of those places where it's really cool. And so the thing they're known for, according to their Instagram, that you just gotta try there is the sushi burrito. So this is literally just a burrito, like a tortilla, and they just stuff it with like sushi rice, seaweed, wasabi, sushi meat, spicy mayo, sesame, edamame, all this crap. They just throw it in there and roll up like a burrito. But their signature one, the one that they seem to be most famous for, on top of all that shit being rolled into it, is then deep fried. They roll up the burrito and then they deep fry it. So you think, wow, that sounds amazing. This must be great. Man, I don't know what went wrong here, but it was just not good. I'm a little disappointed. I've spent roughly a year anticipating at some point checking this place out. Finally drove out 22 miles from home to go and actually dine there, and the food was just not good, man. Like aside from like the whole idea of a fried sushi burrito just not being good, we also just got like a regular sushi roll to have something a little more normalized to go with it, and even that was just like pretty run-of-the-mill sushi stuff. So overall, I was pretty down on that place. A little disappointed. Really looking forward to hopefully finding that place to be quite delicious and fun, but ended up just being like, wow, a bunch of like little fucking, like millennial kids just like basically oversold me on a $13 fried piece of shit with some like run-of-the-mill sushi stuff inside. Way too much wasabi inside there as well. Another item that I will tolerate but don't prefer, wasabi. Don't like wasabi, but if it's there, I'll eat it. Ketchup? No. If they put ketchup on that burrito, I would have thrown it in the chef's face and run out. That would not have been appropriate. Now, fear not, the burrito, the disappointment of the burrito was not the end of the story, because we went to Sam's Club. I haven't been to a Sam's Club since I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. And Sam's Club, for those of you outside the U.S., it's like Costco. It's one of those wholesale warehouse stores where you buy things in bulk and you got to have a membership to get in. So I've been meaning to check out Sam's Club forever, just kind of out of ironic, like just force meme, like, oh, I'm a Sam's Club fan. You may have seen I posted a poll on Twitter this past week asking you, Sam's Club, BJ's, or Costco, who's the reigning champ? It looks like Costco won, which is no surprise there. But my girlfriend and I signed up for a free account to get like a free 24-hour membership to go and just check the place out. And the main reason I wanted to come here is because, as I've known for a few years now, Sam's Club, which is owned by Walmart, has an exclusive flavor of Mountain Dew in their food court. So, as you know, when you go to a Sam's Club or Walmart or Sam's Club or a Costco, after the checkout, there's like this little food court where they sell like hot dogs, pizza slices, soda fountain, shit like that. You can kind of grab a $2 slice of pizza as you head out from your bulk shopping, right? But at Sam's Club, at their soda fountain, they have this exclusive Mountain Dew flavor called Mountain Dew Berry Monsoon, which is like berry lime flavored Mountain Dew. And I just always wanted to try. I've never had the opportunity because where I'm from in Georgia, we really don't have Sam's Club around. So now that there's this Sam's Club that I pass on my way to work every day, I just figured, fuck it, we might as well just go. So after we get this disappointing burrito thing, we go over to Sam's Club, we check it out, we walk around and go, wow, we're literally just two people living in a tiny apartment. There's no reason for us to ever have a membership to Sam's Club because I don't need to buy, 7 packs of toothpaste at a time. I just need the one toothpaste. So we're walking around just kind of like looking at the store, seeing what they offer, and then it's all just a facade, a thing, a front I'm putting up as an excuse to get to that checkout so I can get that Mountain Dew Berry Monsoon. And I gotta say, I tried it. It's a middle of the road Mountain Dew flavor. Finally tried it. Just finally feels good to have it checked off the bucket list. But it tastes like a melted blue raspberry icy. And don't get me wrong, I love the blue raspberry icy, but the older I've gotten, the more I've realized I can't tolerate the blue raspberry icy. It's just too sweet, it's too much sugar. And this soda just tastes like Mountain Dew mixed with a melted blue raspberry icy. So just wasn't able to really go nuts about it. But as far as Mountain Dew flavors go, I've had far worse flavors. I've had better flavors, but I'm totally happy to finally have this one checked off the bucket list. It was good shit. And then also we tried a slice of pizza at Sam's Club, and I gotta say, shout out to Sam's Club Pizza. $2 for a massive slice, and it was pretty good pizza. So I will be back to Sam's Club in the future, mark my words, for more Mountain Dew Berry Monsoon and for more cheap pizza. But yeah, shout out to them. That was fantastic. And then as far as what I've been playing, I guess if you must, I'm playing a lot of Destiny 2 this past week, trying to do their Festival of the Lost, their Halloween event, their annual Halloween event, the Festival of the Lost. They have a really great event this year, some really awesome skins and things you can unlock. I really love their, whatever it's called, the Haunted Forest task they do, where you have to earn these decoder keys from playing Crucible and just from doing strike missions and stuff. And then you do this special Halloween, it's almost like a strike mission where you go this haunted forest thing with a squad of 3, so it's like a strike mission, and you survive for 15 minutes going through these floors of enemy waves, and there's this one monster that's just totally immune to all of your attacks, and he just kind of slowly follows you throughout the whole 15-minute strike mission. Super cool. And then when you get to the end of it, there's this bridge that's crumbling, and you gotta make it to the other side and use your decipher keys that you've unlocked from playing Crucible and strike missions to then unlock these chests to win your loot. You win candy and chocolate coins and stuff, and then you can use all that to redeem for new skins and stuff. So there's a mummy skin for your ghost and your sparrow and all this shit that I'm trying to unlock. I think it's just a really fun event. The whole game is super decked out and fun holiday decorations, and I'm just really enjoying it. There's all the fun masks that you can unlock and the new armor. So really enjoying that in Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is always a great time. I really, really, really love that game, and I'm looking forward to Beyond Light next month. Addition to that, I've been playing COD Modern Warfare. I've been playing the survival mode, which finally came to Xbox after a year of PlayStation exclusivity. This is the mode that I boycotted the game for originally because it wasn't going to come to Xbox till after a year, but then caved like a little bitch and bought the game anyway. It's pretty good. I mean, obviously it's no Nazi zombies, but I'm enjoying the survival mode. It's actually a little more fun than I thought it'd be. And then the last game I've been playing here is a game that you may have seen me mention on the drop last week, but it's called Pumpkin Jack. Now, this is an indie game that just came out last week, and it is solely developed by one person. And that blows my mind, because if you go and look this game up, there's just no way one person made all this. But apparently the one developer spent 4 years of his life making this game all by himself. And it is excellent. It is this perfect character 3D platformer character game where you play as this guy, Pumpkin Jack, who's super awesome. And it's very PlayStation's medieval looking. It's very Jack and Daxter-esque. And you just go around these super cool Halloween levels and you try to defeat this wizard that's trying to do good and beat the devil, and you're cast out by the devil to go and do his bidding and stop this wizard. And the game is just super fun. It's platforming, it's hack and slash gameplay, and there's some really fun twists and little mechanics, really good boss battles at the end of every level. The levels are a little bit on the long end, which is my one gripe with the game, as well as the jump is a little floaty and loose, which I'm not crazy about. But overall, I find the gameplay to be really good. For the most part, the controls are pretty tight. And the boss battles are really creative. The level design's really well done. There's a little bit of exploration and collectibles, which I like. And just everything looks great. The art's amazing. The music is amazing. The writing is humorous. Super, super fun. I'm really enjoying the hell out of this game. And If you're looking for like a fun, I mean, you guys know like platformers are my favorite genre, but if you're looking for like a fun, like easy kind of just Halloween themed game, something very festive to play this week for Halloween, I cannot recommend Pumpkin Jack enough. It is just so, so good. I'm at the end of it. I'm going to finish it up in the coming days as we approach Halloween. But yeah, that's what I've been playing this week. So thanks for listening, guys, to all that shit. Now, without further ado, we will jump into the proper news segment of the week, of which we got a fair amount of stories. So let's just jump right in. All right, our first story here comes from Windows Central, and it is that, according to a recent report by Bloomberg, 343 Industries studio head of FPS development, Chris Lee, has resigned from the company. The resignation comes far ahead of Halo Infinite's launch, raising questions about the game's development and the road ahead. The statement from Lee in the article reads, quote, "I have stepped back from Infinite and am looking at future opportunities," Lee said in a statement to Bloomberg. "I believe in the team and am confident that they will deliver a great game, and now is a good time for me to step away." End quote. According to an email statement to Bloomberg, Lee is still working with Microsoft, just not on Halo Infinite. Chris Lee's departure comes as a massive surprise, but this isn't the first time a major figure at 343 has departed the studio during Halo Infinite's development cycle. The game's original creative designer, Tim Longo, left in 2019, and Halo Infinite's lead producer, Mary Olson, left shortly after. Additionally, Halo alum Joseph Staten recently signed onto the project as a project lead for the game's campaign in order to help ship the game. Also, Pierre Heinz was also brought on to help with the game's multiplayer, and according to Bloomberg, Lee's role with the project was sidelined at the same time, and it has remained that way leading up to the official departure from Halo Infinite. So this story is a weird one because immediately a part of me wants to go, well, clearly, his work on the game is pretty much done at this point. Everything from here is just polish, getting the game ready and having everything ready so that you can launch all aspects of the game together at the same time. But at the same time, I'm like, well, they brought that Joseph Staten guy back into the fold from Bungie and back from, old Halo veteran back into the fold just a few months ago. As the article says, to work as a project lead for the game's campaign. So it's so conflicting when part of you is like, well, the game's done, they're just working on the polish, so why'd they bring this guy in for the campaign stuff if the game's done? But then if you ignore that, it's so easy to be like, well, it's not really concerning that Chris Lee left because, the game's largely done. His leadership on the project is over. They're basically just polishing it up. It's like, okay, but how is that true if there's a guy who's just brought on to work on campaign shit? So it's just so many conflicting stories about who's leaving, why they're leaving, what needs to be done on the game, what's being worked on in these final stages. So it is concerning just for the fact that, it's so many people of so much consequence that have just kind of come and gone over the years. And for whatever reason, it just seems like 343 just does not retain its big talent. Josh Holmes left shortly after Halo 5. His name escapes me, but the lead guy, writer from Halo 4, left shortly after Halo 4. It's just people at 343 just seem to, especially really high up, really high-ranking people, just seem to come and go, which seems to really, really at odds with what's happening at 343 or what you think is happening at these Microsoft studios, because you just assume that these are some of the most relaxed, or I say relaxed, but most creatively free places to work in the games industry as far as working for big corporations go, because Microsoft seems to really have this work culture of we want our creatives to just kind of do their thing, explore their thing, and you would think that'd be really appealing to these guys, but at the same time it's it just seems like so many more people leave teams like the Coalition and 343 than leave teams like Naughty Dog or Santa Monica over at PlayStation. So it's what is happening here? And I understand, before Lethal Migraine comments and says the initiative, Microsoft's new studio, keeps poaching talent from Sony Santa Monica and Naughty Dog. I know. But it just seems like there's something especially with Halo here, where it's really key people just keep dropping out at really odd times. And so, do I think this spells trouble for the game? No. I think the game is largely complete. I think the game is fine. I'm not worried about it. I think Halo Infinite is what it is. Listen, here's the thing: is people want to bitch and moan about the way the game looks or whatever. I don't care. What that demo showed us in July, at least for people like me, is that Halo Infinite looks like a ton of fun, and I just don't care anymore. I can't fathom a world where Halo Infinite comes out and, to me at least, is anything short of just a really fucking fun game. So, no, I'm not going to keep speculating here about, is the game doomed? Is it broken? Is everything the worst? I don't fucking know, man. But I think the game is going to be fine. I think what you're seeing is a lot of people who have the freedom to kind of move around these studios as they please and move into different divisions and departments within Microsoft. And I think you're seeing people exercise that kind of freedom that Microsoft allows. And that might sound like a very defensive fanboy kind of explanation for what's happening here, but I don't know. It's hard to justify one like this because, again, he's the studio head of FPS development. I thought he was just a studio head right now. But the fact that he's not going to be there to help ship this game just is concerning on paper. Like, whether or not that actually spells trouble for the project or not, it remains to be seen. But on paper, that is a concerning bit of news to be told. So I don't fucking know. Again, at this point with Halo Infinite, I'm so tired of speculating. I'm so tired of these stories about people coming and going. I don't care. I just want to play Halo Infinite. So it's really hard for me to muster a lot of like speculation about a story like this. My guess is that Halo Infinite has been a grueling project between this new engine and getting this platform ready and setting Halo up to be like a service for the next 10 years as opposed to just another entry in the franchise. I assume this has been an exhaustive project to work on, and that there are a lot of people who are like, okay, my next thing's got to be something a little more bite-sized because this was a lot. This was big. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, but it is weird. It is almost like your name's going to be at the top of the credits list on this game, and you're not even going to be there for like the final 6 months or whatever it is until the game comes out. So it's weird, but again, for the last time, I don't want to speculate anymore about this game. We'll find out, how much this matters, I guess, when the game comes out, or maybe we won't, but I assume that the game will do the talking for itself as to whether or not it's doomed or whether or not this is good or bad. So I don't know. Let's just wait till we see more in the game. I'm really tired of just assuming this game's fucked or whatever it is that people want to do. Our next story here is something that doesn't make me just instantly tired to think about. Cyberpunk 2077, in fact, this is just comical. Cyberpunk 2077 will be delayed again by 21 days with a new release date set for December 10th. CD Projekt Red announced the news in a statement on Twitter. Quite honestly, it was a very transparent account addressing precisely what's going on with the development. The statement reads, "Today we've decided to move the release of Cyberpunk 2077 by 21 days, with the new release date being December 10th. Most likely there are many emotions and questions in your hands, so first and foremost, please accept our apologies. The biggest challenge for us right now is shipping the game to current gen, next gen, and PC all at the same time, which requires us to prepare 9 versions of the game between the Xbox, PlayStation SKUs, and PC, and Stadia, while working from home. Since Cyberpunk evolved towards being a next-gen title somewhere along the way, we need to make sure that everything works and that every version runs smoothly. We're aware it might seem unrealistic when some say that 21 days can't make that much of a difference in such a complex game, but 21 days really do. Some of you also might be wondering what these words mean in light of us saying that we achieved Gold Master of the game some time ago. Passing certification or, quote, going gold means that the game is ready to go, to be completed, and has all of its content that's content complete, but it doesn't mean that we stopped working on raising the quality bar. On the contrary, this is the time where many improvements are being made, which will then be distributed via a Day Zero patch. This is the time period we undercalculated. We feel we have an amazing game on our hands, and we are willing to make every decision, even the hardest ones, if it ultimately leads to you getting a video game that you'll fall in love with. Yours, Adam Badowski and Marcin Inwinski from CD Projekt Red." So I just love this statement because it's just so straight up and transparent. I love it because it's basically like saying, hey guys, yeah, there's going to be one of those Day Zero patches, Day 1 patches, and yeah, that's the stuff that makes the game super stable and run very well, so like, yeah, we're working on that right now, and we underestimate it. I love how transparent that was, and them just being like, yeah, we're working on a lot of SKUs of the game at once, and it's hard to get it all, kind of on parity, so I really appreciate that transparency. I just, at this point, I don't know how you get mad about this. It's like, yeah, Cyberpunk keeps getting delayed. It will come out when it comes out. What do you want, man? It's not even getting its next-gen update for a while anyway, so, like, just get your Xbox Series X and play one of the many other good games coming out in the next few weeks. So, like, I don't know. I can't be bothered by this because I see Cyberpunk getting delayed, and I'm like, wow, I'm relieved now because that means more time and space in between these games for me to just kind of enjoy what's happening rather than be bombarded with a billion new games to play in November. So to me, this is all good news, but I assume some people are out there bitching and moaning, getting all salty. And for you, Bloomberg, I hate to say this, but you're going to have to run another article about how sad it is that oh my god, these guys have to work extra days now to get this game out by December 10th. They're all being held against their will. They're all being chained to their work desks at home to get this game out the door. It's so sad. It's so sad. Millions and millions of people are losing their jobs right now in this rough economy, and people are losing their livelihood and dying of this pandemic. But these poor guys at CD Projekt Red had to be paid shit tons of money to make this really awesome game that's going to write their ticket to literally any video game project they could ever want to work on ever. But it's so sad. Now they're going to have to work a few more days. This is really awful, guys. Also, crunch culture is toxic and evil and all that shit. But I don't know. I just see this. I'm just like, to me, it's relieving. I'm just like, cool. They respected, their audience by just being like, hey, this is the reality of the situation. This is specifically what we're dealing with. You can understand that. Yes, there's going to be a day one patch to help really buff out the kinks. And yeah, we'll get it out to you as soon as possible. But man, we need a little more time. And I don't know how anyone doesn't read that and just be like, well, one, a lot of respect for being so transparent, honest, and straightforward about it, and two, yay, more breathing room so we can play other new games as the new consoles come out in the coming month or coming weeks, and just a little more space between all of that launch and Cyberpunk. So I think this is all good news. Take all the time you need. I'm sure the game will be great when it comes out, and I'm sure 21 more additional days without Cyberpunk probably isn't going to make the world burn and burst in flames. So I think we'll manage. So that's that. Now, IGN reports in our next story here that the Coalition is taking its shot at Gears 5 story DLC in December, as Gears developers told IGN, and it'll be available on Xbox Series, consoles, PC, and One. There's a quote from Gears 5's lead principal producer, Zoe Curnow, who says, all I can say is that it comes out in December and the title is Hivebusters, so it might give you a little hint as to what that content might be. That'll be available on the new consoles as well, so it'll be optimized for those two. In Gears 5, the Hivebusters are a squad of 3 who never make an appearance in the campaign, but instead star in the new mode Escape. Team Scorpio's Keegan, Lonnie, and Mac are the default squad, though you can go in with one of your choosing that infiltrates swarm hives, and that would be considered suicide missions to destroy the enemy strongholds from the inside. Team Scorpio doesn't have much of an identity in Gears 5, though they do have an origin story in the Gears of War Hivebusters comic. Other than an estimated playtime of 3 or 4 hours, Zoe said that more DLC details, including whether or not it'll cost anything, will be shared in early December. Members of the Coalition previously said that there weren't any intentions to develop any story DLC for Gears, but she did say that the philosophy of the statement is still true and that they don't want to hold anything back when developing a campaign. Gears 5 is also getting a campaign update with a new Game Plus mode, which will be out in November. So, yeah, this is pretty cool. Unexpected. We're getting some new DLC story content for Gears 5. Speaking of, just new games constantly bombarding us. 3 to 4 hours sounds like a pretty lengthy additional content. I assume this will be free Game Pass shit, or it'll be like $10 or something. But I'm excited to play this. This is definitely an excuse. The Series X update on Gears 5 is nice, but I wasn't going to go back and replay the campaign for that. I'll play a multiplayer, but this is a good reason to go back and play some campaigns. So definitely looking forward to enjoying some beautiful Gears 5 updates on Series X with this new campaign content. So that's super cool. I think, this is clearly not an example of they held stuff back from the main release to release separate. This is more than a year after the game came out, which is kind of what the quote alludes to. But yeah, this will be a nice little taste, a little holdover to get some next gen, some Gears something content going while we wait for a Gears 6 proper. But yeah, I can't wait to play that. Looks like it'll be a spin-off story unrelated to the main cast of characters, and I look forward to seeing what that's all about. Now, our next story here comes from Windows Central, and it is that in a recent interview with The Verge, Xbox lead Phil Spencer offered some hints about where Xbox Game Pass and Project xCloud game streaming could head in the future. The interview is paywalled, but The Verge extracted some interesting quotes about Spencer's thoughts on what the future could hold. Spencer's quote reads, quote, I think you're going to see lower price hardware as part of our ecosystem when you think about streaming sticks and other things that somebody might want to just plug into a TV and play via xCloud. You can imagine us even having something that we just include in the Game Pass subscription that'll give you the ability to stream xCloud games to your television and buy a controller. Brad Sams of Thurrott.com previously released that Microsoft was experimenting with a Chromecast-like TV dongle dubbed Project Hobart. In the interview with Strachery, Phil Spencer also reportedly mentioned that the possibility of Game Pass Platinum tier, which would come with free hardware similar to the design of Xbox All Access. Project xCloud already is exceeding expectations according to our sources, with the strong uptake in Eastern Europe and South Korea. Microsoft has aggressively promoted Xbox Game Pass's cloud streaming features in partnership with Samsung in South Korea, showing how xCloud stream functions on Samsung Galaxy tablets and phones. Now, Microsoft's proposed acquisition of ZeniMax Media, Bethesda Softworks of course, also comes with patents for unique streaming technology dubbed Project Orion, which will now all fold into the Microsoft family. Now, what I find most interesting about this is the idea that, sure, they might do like an xCloud streaming stick, but also they might just have it to where in the future, smart TVs might just come pre-installed with this shit. So like you might buy an LG or Samsung smart TV, unbox that shit, and just see a Project xCloud or Xbox game streaming app built into the TV from the get-go. So much like how, a lot of smart TVs have like Apple TV or Netflix or YouTube or whatever just kind of built into the smart TV, this could be just another one of the apps. But yeah, I could also see them doing a streaming stick. It seems like Phil Spencer's basically just admitting, yeah, these are things we're planning on doing eventually. And that's pretty cool. You might be able to like go to the store and just buy a package that's like an Xbox gamepad, a streaming stick, and a 3-month subscription to Game Pass Ultimate or something like that. And these are really exciting little ways to, I don't know, just get more people, more casual players into the Xbox ecosystem, of course. But it is good to see that kind of early reporting or those, just kind of early inclinations that, part of the world is really taking the game streaming for Xbox. As you know, now that's out here in the States or in North America, I don't really see it making a big splash. I don't feel like I see anyone playing it or hear of anyone playing it. The only time I really see anything about xCloud being mentioned is like when I'm on Twitter seeing Xbox people talk about Xbox, or on a media website seeing video game people talk about Xbox or something like that. So it doesn't seem like the world's been lit on fire here, but I guess early indications show that the service is doing well. So this is pretty good stuff here for Microsoft. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the kind of inevitable stuff here, and this is the big question about like what's next for Xbox, right? Is about these things like what Count Skyler is talking about, or rather what Dead Captain James is talking about with xCloud being available on PlayStation just through like a browser, and like people buying xCloud sticks for their smart TVs, or all these kinds of things. This is more of like the kind of Xbox future stuff that's a little more like interesting and vague and uncertain, more so than just like, oh, the Xbox console, buying an Xbox Series X or S. And it'll be so interesting if this really is the future, if these are the things that take off. It'll be so interesting to see how like these consoles start to perform when you think about people playing games on their computer, people playing games on their phone, people buying these sticks or playing them on their smart TV, and then people having the option to buy a $500 Xbox Series X console. So it really is like, it's a crazy amount of variety in terms of ways to play, and it's overwhelming, but this might be the solution, the answer to how they're thinking about getting these games to everyone. And it is that, with smart TVs and sticks and stuff like that and computers, everyone can have access to Xbox. You don't have to buy an Xbox piece of hardware. So it's crazy. This stuff is just like, it makes perfect sense for what xCloud is, but it also just feels so beyond our concept of what Xbox is that it's just weird to think about, these like Chromecast sticks and stuff that you normally associate with like cheap gimmicky shit that no one cares about, and now all of a sudden like this is Xbox. This is how you can play Xbox for cheap. So it's just an interesting concept, but I assume this is stuff we'll be seeing soon. Not really much to speculate on there other than to like look to the future to learn more about these things specifically. But yeah, our next story here is that Xbox has had an official Xbox Series X and S demo this past week, which went online, showcasing a bunch of features and kind of an overview of the system OS, how the console works. Most of it was stuff that we had already seen before, nothing really new, showing off quick resume, the SSD, all that kind of stuff. But we also got some new looks at things we haven't seen before. Namely, we learned about dynamic backgrounds. So we've seen dynamic backgrounds teased a little bit here and there, but now we've finally seen what they look like and have them confirmed. So dynamic backgrounds are indeed completely exclusive to the Xbox Series S and X. So even though the Xbox One has the new dashboard, you won't be able to use these on an Xbox One. There's also dynamic background for each accent color that you choose to personalize your console. But Xbox mentioned that they are intending to add more later on down the road. So this was the cool thing. This is pretty similar to something that PlayStation's already had for a long time. So it's cool to see Xbox finally get on with this. In particular, I'm really hoping we get some really cool live backgrounds, that they'll start selling ones for certain games. So you can get like a Halo dynamic background and Forza dynamic background, things like that. So you can assume those things, it's a given, those things will be there eventually. But I'm just excited to have this here. And, now the consoles are powerful enough that they can just have dynamic backgrounds without really infringing on the power and the speed and the reliability of the console. That's really exciting stuff. So this is like one of those little things. It's like not a huge deal, but these are the kinds of little quality of life things that add up to making the new console feel next gen or different from the last one. So I'm all for it. I think it looks cool. Check out the video. It's on YouTube or on Xbox Wire if you want to see specifically what they look like. They do look a little bit like Xbox's version of the live themes that PlayStation has, but whatever. But yeah, so that was shown off finally. And then our wrap-up story of the week, guys, here is that it is all about Game Pass. So as far as Game Pass goes, we got a bunch of games that are coming and leaving the service soon. The first list here is the coming soon category. So Carto is coming to console and PC on Game Pass. It's an ID at Xbox game, and it is out now. Day of the Tentacle Remastered is coming to console and PC now. These next few are all on October 29th, this Friday, or no, that's this Thursday, rather the day this podcast goes live. So Day of the Tentacle Remastered, Five Nights at Freddy's coming to Android, console, and PC. Full Throttle Remastered coming to console and PC. Grim Fandango Remastered coming to console and PC. Player Unknown's Battleground coming to Android. And Scourge Bringer coming to Android. And Unruly Heroes coming to Android, console, and PC. All of those will be out this Thursday, the 29th. Then next week on November 5th, you're getting Celeste on Android, console, and PC. Ooh, please play Celeste. It's a very good game. And then you got Comanche coming to PC on November 5th. Additionally, on November 5th, you got Deep Rock Galactic coming to Android, console, and PC. Fast Shade coming to Android, console, and PC. Knights and Bikes coming to console and PC. And then finally, on November 17th, Ark Survival Evolved Explorers Edition will come to Android, console, and PC, all through Project xCloud, all through Game Pass, rather. And then leaving on October 30th, this Friday, you'll see a couple games leave. We've got The Red String Club on PC, Lord of the Rings Adventure Card Game coming to leaving console and PC, Tacoma leaving console and PC, highly recommend that one, Rise and Shine on console, Lego Star Wars 3 on console, and lastly, After Party on console, which is exactly a year from when it came to console. That the game launched into Game Pass last year around Halloween. That was actually the game I played on Halloween night. It was it's Halloween, I got nowhere to be, I'll play a video game for the season kind of game, and it was really great. And now we'll be leaving after 1 year on Xbox Game Pass, which tells you that contract was good for 1 year. So yeah, if you haven't played that, I highly recommend that in Tacoma. Those are two games I'd say maybe try to get a hold of before they're gone. But other than that, that's going to do it for all the major news stories of the week, guys. Now we jump into the important enough news, stories important enough to make the podcast, but not important enough to warrant their own discussion. The first one here is that Minecraft Dungeons has a new fall holiday event that players can access now. The spooky fall event runs until November 3rd and offers seasonal trials that can net you cool rewards such as themed items. Next, Fortnite, the battle royale game that makes lots of money when mom is gone but leaves her wallet on the table, is getting a new Halloween-themed crossover to the tune of the hit classic Ghostbusters. Make your Fortnite look like Ghostbusters and get skins all over. Available now. Next up, Star Wars Squadrons is getting some free DLC this week that adds that stupid little baby Yoda guy to your ship in promotion of the new Mandalorian season that coming to Disney Plus. Next up, Ghost Runner, which comes out this week, will be getting a free upgrade to the Xbox Series X sometime 2021. As long as you have the game on current gen hardware, you can just upgrade for free on the next gen version when it comes out. And then lastly, Netflix is looking to work with Ubisoft on bringing Assassin's Creed as a TV show to the service. Why? Because God hates you, and yes, even after that Michael Fassbender movie flopped a couple years ago, they're still going to try that again. And lastly, guys, I meant to mention this at the top of the show, but that's going to do it for all the news. Before we jump into the new game releases of the week, I wanted to mention this. So we got a few more weeks here until Xbox Series S and X come out. In fact, we've got 2 weeks. 2 weeks until the Xbox. Holy shit, that's crazy. 2 weeks until the new Xbox is out, guys. If we have a slow news week between now and then, which I assume at least one of these weeks will be slow, I would like to do one more of these, like reflecting back on the Xbox One generation before it's gone kind of segments. So we already did the one where it was tell me about your top 5 favorite console exclusives of the Xbox One generation. I would like to do that one more time, you guys. I'll announce this again at the top of the next week's show because probably no one will get to the end of the show and hear this part. But if you'd like to participate, let's just do the same segment, but now about third-party games. So write in this week on YouTube, write in the comments or tweet at me, however you want to get it out there. Write in with your top 5 favorite multi-platform third-party games, whatever, of the generation for Xbox One. So this is the opposite. Last time it was exclusive things like Halo, Gears, Forza. Now we're talking multi-platform games that might have also been on PlayStation, PC, whatever. So this is your stuff like Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed and Watchdogs and Far Cry and all that shit. This is like all of your top 5 favorite games that are multi-platform of the generation on the Xbox. It can be anything from like an indie game to a AAA game, but multi-platform third-party games. So feel free to write that in this week, and then we'll do that segment next week or the week after that, whatever. Ideally in 2 weeks, because it would be unfair for me to do that next week when I only mentioned that we're doing this at the end of this week's show, when the vast majority of you are probably not listening anymore. Most of you, I assume, statistically, are checked out. So we'll see. If a lot of you write in this week, I guess we'll just do it next week. It depends kind of what the news week's looking like. But with that said, guys, we'll wrap up the podcast with our new game releases of the week directly from the Xbox Wire. So this week, there are 15 new games coming to Xbox. So let's just jump right into that. Our first game here is called Carto, which is a game where you play as all these little like old oil paintings characters. These are guys who are just discovering things like fire and nature, and they're very in tune with the outside world because they haven't created the indoors yet. This is a pretty stupid game, though, because you got like some old hairy men, some young girls, an owl, a fox, a bird, a bear, and everyone just looks completely fucking lost. It's like all these characters are just equally confused and dazed, like, what the fuck is going on here? And I think the reason why they look confused is they're just like, this isn't a game. There's nothing going on here. Nothing's happening here. They're all just looking at each other like, do you understand the purpose of this game? I don't fucking get the game. This is a dumb game, is what I'm trying to say. Next here we got Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid Saga continues, coming out on October 27th, which is a fighting beat-em-up game where you play as Cobra Kai, who is the Karate Kid's arch nemesis, and that's actually true. And you go to the schoolyard and you just beat the shit out of kids. This is why the Karate Kid's not a good story, because you get all these kids and you teach them karate, and yeah, it's cool. It's a good way to keep them off the streets and to teach them something and give them a place of community and belonging, and like, you know, help them invest in themselves, and they feel a sense of belonging from these communities where they built friendships and all that. But the reality is, at some point, these kids grow up, and then they don't have karate. You know, the kids grow up, someone moves, someone gets married and has a kid, and things change. You know, your karate friends, your things change. Your instructor gets old and frail and doesn't teach karate anymore, and you find yourself old and alone in this world where the only thing that makes sense to you is karate. So what do you do when you have all these deadly skills and you have no sense of community or belonging anymore? You take it to the streets and you start beating the shit out of old people. And that's exactly what happens in Cobra Kai. The Karate Kid saga continues. This is the Karate Kids that are alone, that are lost in this world, and that have no place of belonging, but they have badass karate skills. So what do? They pick battles. They go out on the streets. They find homeless people who are just asking for pennies or food or something to eat, and they beat the shit out of them because they know karate and that homeless person doesn't. They take it down to the church. They say, "Oh, are you a nun? Are you a nun? I'm here. I'm at the cathedral. Oh, you think God's going to save you? Well, guess what, nun? I bet God can't save you now. Ka-chow!" And then they start beating the shit out of the nuns and beating the fucking faces in and making them bleed and say, "Where's your God now? Where's your God now?" Because this is what the Karate Kid does. He learns the karate, and then his master dies because he's a really fucking old wasabi guy who rubs the wax on thing. And then all this shit happens, and this guy before you know, the Karate Kid's 40 years old. He looks like Will Smith's son all of a sudden, and he's just like, "I have these skills, but I got nothing to do with it," and you just beat the shit out of your community. And that's what the Cobra Kai is all about. That's what the Karate Kid saga continues is all about. October 27th, highly recommend you check it out. Now, next we got the Ghost Runner game on October 27th. This game looks actually pretty good. It's one of those games like I want to play it, but there's just too much going on right now. I'm trying to get my Halloween stuff out of the way this week and then get ready for Series X after that. Like, I'm probably just not going to play this game, but this game looks really cool. It's like fun, wall running, traversal, fast, like platforming, first person action stuff. It looks like a Titanfall meets Mirror's Edge meets like Celeste, kind of, with like the die, respond instantly, try again kind of thing. But yeah, it actually looks pretty good. I recommend it. It supports smart delivery, so yeah, play that on your Series X if you want. Next, you got Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, which is out now, and I know this was a fun game back in the day, but holy fuck, this screenshot just looks pathetic. Sometimes you just look at like this N64 looking screenshot, this old PC screenshot, and you're just like, I can't believe games used to look just so muddy and shitty and flat and disgusting. And that's what you get with Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Still better than Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, but it's a muddy, gross-looking Star Wars game if you're looking for another one of those for some reason. Wonderling is our next game where you play as this little chicken who's lost in one of those pipes from a Mario game, who runs around and collects little chicken eggs. I don't know what else to tell you. I've seen so many of these little games. I know you guys don't like it when I harp on the little indies, but fuck, it looks lame. Star 99 is our next game. It is a game that is perfect. I think it's perfect. It's a twin stick shooter, but there's just like this explosion on the screen, a ship, and it's shooting. There's bad guys, but there's this big thing that just says perfect on the screen. So I don't know if this is like the game, if it's like a twin stick shooter, or if the developer is trying to catch your attention by just saying that they are perfect and their game is perfect, but I don't like that kind of arrogance, so I'm not going to pimp that game out anymore. We're going to skip that. Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted is coming out on October 29th. Now, this isn't Help Wanted because, like, oh, it's a new Five Nights at Freddy's game, and it's got a spooky twist to it. This is like Help Wanted because the developers who make these games are fucking trapped and they're miserable because they're held against their will to keep making these stupid games, and they don't want to. They want to do literally anything else. These people would rather bag groceries at a Target than fucking make a Five Nights at Freddy's number 784. They are miserable. This is a cry for help. This is not them saying, oh, this game is spooky and scary. This is them saying, no, help us. We can't stop making these stupid games, and we are miserable. We're trapped. We are held against our will. Please, anyone, please come and save us. But that sad thing is no one's going to come and do that because Freddy ain't going to let that happen now. Next, we got Watchdogs Legion, which comes out October 29th. I don't think this game needs any introduction. It's hard to laugh about it when, it's such a real game that's actually coming out, and it's next gen, and it supports smart delivery, so you got to play that. You can hack a grandmother in this game. You can drive a drone. You can look like a millennial. It's such a good game to play. And then our next game here is called Case 2 Animatronic Survival, which is literally just a knockoff of Five Nights at Freddy's. The only thing that could be more terrifying than being stuck making Five Nights at Freddy's games would be to think you've escaped the development hell of making a Five Nights at Freddy's game only to find yourself creating Case 2 Animatronic Survival, which is just basically more Five Nights at Freddy's. So fuck you. All these games trying to cash on Halloween week, but they don't know that I'm not seeing through their bullshit. I ain't playing you Five Nights at Freddy's. Next, we got Cube Raiders, which basically looks like Bomberman, but not fun. And there's only 2 minutes and 15 seconds on the clock in that screenshot, so it looks like time's running out for them. Next, we got the Dark Pictures Anthology, Little Hope, which is the next entry in the Dark Pictures Anthology. I told you guys about the one I played recently, The Man of Medan. It was very good. This is a new one. It's a different story, so I don't know if it's good. I haven't played it, so stop asking me. That's out on October 30th, very much in time for Halloween. Family Mysteries 2 Echoes of Tomorrow is a game that makes literally no sense. The screenshot doesn't do this game any justice, and neither will I. Legends of Eternal comes out on October 30th. This is a game that looks like it's a flash game that you played on the computer in 5th grade when the teacher wasn't looking. Now, Sweet Witches is coming out October 30th. Nothing Halloween about this game. It looks very weeby, so I won't give them the time of day. Visage comes out on October 30th. This is a very scary game. It's a first-person psychological horror game about meaning to go to the Xbox store to download Resident Evil 7, but accidentally downloading Visage, which is the scariest thing you can do. It's $20 wasted, and that's going to do it for all of our new games this week, guys. I recommend Pumpkin Jack or Dark Pictures Anthology Little Hope, or if you really want to be a next-gen hero, you can get the Watchdogs Legions. Whatever you do, don't get that Five Nights at Freddy guy. He's fucking creepy. Ghost Runner looks pretty good. And that Cobra Kai Karate Kid Saga, I mean, how can you say no? Looks like some pretty promising games coming out this week, you guys. But I'm tired. My mouth hurts from talking so much. Let's wrap it up, guys. Our Games with Gold is a reminder for the last few days of the month. You got Slay Away Camp Butcher's Cut for the next few days before November hits. You've got Made of Scare, which is available till November 15th, so you got a while to get that horror game. And then lastly, Costume Quest is available until the last day of the month, October 31st. That's my game. That's my Halloween night game, so I'm looking forward to playing it. Guys, thank you so much. This has been Xbox On. If you appreciate the show, give it a thumbs up. Normally, I don't ask for a thumbs up because I'm not petty, but some people have been downvoting the show on YouTube, and we got to stop them, guys. We cannot allow them to do this. I know it's you. I know it's you, Tenali Maya. I know you're downvoting. That's okay. But let's try to fight back, guys. Let's get the votes up. Let's upvote the hell out of this shit. Follow me on Twitter, guys. You know where to find me on Twitter. I'm at Fired from 343 Studios. And until next time, guys, power your dreams.
That's right.